Os! Welcome back to the Singing Samurai teaching series. So this is part 2 of the teaching series within a series on getting our students to tell the truth. So part 2 is going to focus on the nature of fear and fight or flight in terms of a response. Why do we have it? Why is it there? It's just singing. We're not going to die. Or are we? Stick around, find out. So why are so many people afraid of singing? Why is that a thing? It's interesting that the two most common fears that all human beings share are the fear of falling down, which makes perfect sense, because especially since we were babies, you don't want to fall. You don't want to fall down. It hurts. You could really hurt yourself. You could die depending on what you fell off of. So, that makes sense. That doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. Or on my last fishing trip, our guide, we came up with rocket surgeon. Doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure that one out. But the second most common fear is the fear of public speaking. You're not going to die from public speaking, but why is public speaking the other most common fear among human beings? And then by extension, to sing in public. It's like public speaking to the next power or to the 10th power. You are not just on stage, at a podium. You're on stage and there might not be anything, and you're in costume, or at the least with a piano, and maybe at the most with an orchestra, and sets and all these other people, and there's a whole audience. They have these expectations. Not only will you reach them, but you will entertain them. It's not just giving them information. It's more, and there's this huge focus. But still, why is that a common fear? Why is that such a big deal? And why do we have a fight or flight response to it? Well, I don't have a definitive answer for this, and I think it's because it's complicated and that there are a lot of different ways to look at it, but I do have a really productive way of looking at it, and a theory that I think holds a lot of water. When we were roaming the fields and the jungles and the caves and the wherever as a tribal people, tribal species, when we were the very first humans, maybe even before that, probably before that, if you consider our ancestry with primates, it was really important to be popular. And I hated coming to that conclusion because I was like, ugh, I was not the popular kid in school. I think that the whole popularity game in middle school and high school is just super lame. I think it's super lame. Because it's we're all trying to figure out who we are, and no one really knows. And so it's who's popular, who's not popular. It always seemed like the reasons for that were totally superficial. But why the fight or flight response? All that makes sense. We want to get along and da-da-da-da. But the fear of impending death. Fight or flight is an instinct that protects us from an animal, be it a human being or otherwise, that's going to eat us or about to kill us. It either gets us to fight, to save ourselves, to protect ourselves, or run away. Or in some instances, to just stand very, very still. And hopefully the creature that's trying to eat us doesn't see us anymore. So maybe that works sometimes. I don't know. I've heard conflicting reports. With some bears, run. With other bears, just stand still and play dead. And I don't know. If it's a bear, I think I'm going to I'm going to get eaten. Regardless, if we were more popular back when life was, threatened around every corner, when starvation was a real possibility every day of the week, where the potential of being injured and needing someone to care for us, or the potential for someone to try and harm us physically, was ever present. Death was around the corner. It was really important to be well liked by the other members of the tribe. Because if we weren't, we were literally not as safe as we would be if we were well liked. Those fears are still there, but the reasons for them are not as present in the majority of human beings on this planet anymore. Obviously, some people still live in situations like that, and I don't want to discount that, but for the purposes of this video and what we're talking about, most of us don't have to worry about if the rest of the world didn't really like us, are we going to die today or tomorrow? But it certainly makes life harder, and we grow up learning this too. And so it lends to this other idea of, if you're going to get out in front of the tribe and say, look at what I can do, you better be really good at it. Because if you're not good at it, the tribe's going to say, wow, you suck. I don't like you as much as I did before. And it might not be overt and obvious. It might not be totally conscious, but it'll be there, or at the very least we'll be afraid. Oh no, I did a really bad job. Now people don't like me as much, and and that's a stressor. That's a source of anxiety. Am I less safe now? But there's another aspect of it too. I was listening to a personality lecture that Jordan Peterson was giving. It was a college lecture, but it's on YouTube. I can't remember which one it was, but in this lecture he was talking about zebras and why they have stripes. And I didn't know actually why. I thought, kind of in a goofy way, I was like, wow, maybe it's for like tall grass. They can hide in tall grass. Not very well, because you can see a zebra in tall grass. And I've heard that, it's because of flies. It's a deterrent for flies, and that could be very well true. But one reason that is absolutely true is that zebras, as they move in a herd, they all look the same. And their main predator, not the only one, but their main predator is lions. Well, a group of lions has to choose on a zebra to hunt. And if they lose sight of that zebra, if they're all moving, especially in the middle, if you're the middle zebra in the middle of the herd, you're not going to get eaten. Well, how do you get to be the middle zebra in the middle of the herd? The herd better like you. Well, it's true for humans too. More human beings, in my experience and in Peterson's experience, don't want to get in trouble more than they want to be successful. It's more important that they don't mess up and get caught for it than their desire to take a risk and be successful. He explained this too because he came up with this really great questionnaire about personality, which I encourage all of my students to take and anyone listening to this video, because it's very informative. It's kind of brutal. It'll tell you exactly who you are, at least according to it. And for me, it was very accurate. But it's brutal because it'll tell you the good things and the not so good things, perhaps, about your personality. But he found that if people understood this about themselves and coupled with some other things, there was this system that he could provide to companies, and that it would improve productivity by something like 25 or 30% for the employees that took it, especially in terms of like restructuring things and putting people in different roles. So I thought, wow, 25, 30%, return on investment. I think it was like an 80% chance of that happening, which is like outrageous in personality psychology. Anyway, he presented this to these different people, and they're like, well, number one, who's your first customer? Well, maybe it's you. We're hoping it'll be you. No one wants to be the first customer because they don't want to stand out. They don't want to be the sucker. And then two, well, we have this other test, and we know that this test works. The Myers-Briggs test doesn't really work. But we use it, and everyone uses it, and everyone likes it. And so I don't want to be the guy to tell my boss that we're going to spend the money on this test when, even though you say it works, you expert you, I don't want to use it because if it doesn't work, and if it doesn't work, I'm going to get in trouble. So I'm not going to take the risk. I don't want to stand out. Even though, like, had they taken the risk, and then they show their boss, look, we're getting 30% more efficiency out of our employees. We're getting all this money on return. I think it was something, he added it up, and it was like $200,000 over the course of 4 or 5 years that you would make as a return on investment or something along those lines. on every employee at a certain, salary range. It's like, wow, who wouldn't do that? Well, the person that doesn't want to get eaten by the lions, the zebra that stands out. So big circle back. Why are we so afraid of standing on stage? Why do we have that fight or flight response? We don't want to stand out. We don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to be made a fool of. We don't want to make a fool of ourselves. We don't want to feel less safe. Sometimes it's easier, I think oftentimes actually it's easier to be in a situation where I know that I'm not going to be any better than this, but if I stay here and I don't do anything, I don't take any risks, I won't be here. I might not be up here, and I would like to be there if I could just be there safely, but it was not safe. So I'll be here. I won't take the risk. So what does that have to do with telling the truth? What is this understanding of fear and, and by extension, that nature of tension, of holding us back from telling the truth? Fear is the number one thing that holds us back from telling the truth. And that's why the introduction to all this comes from the teacher taking the responsibility of creating an environment that is both filled with enough risk that the students have that fear of failing, but then also safety and trust so that they can take that risk. But then also understanding this nature of fear and why we have a fight or flight response and where that comes from is going to help us as teachers to do a better job of addressing our students' fears. I've fallen into this trap that it's easy to look at my students and go, why are you so worried about this? Why are you freaking out about this? Why are you having such a strong, emotional, fearful reaction to what you're about to do? And it's because I don't have that strong of a reaction anymore. It's not to say that it's gone. It's never gone. In fact, if I get on stage and I'm not nervous about what I'm about to do, I get nervous because I'm not nervous. Because I think, what's wrong with me? Why am I not present and connected? Why am I not feeling like I'm about to take a risk? Why am I not going to tell the whole truth? What's holding me back? Anxiety. And then usually I get over it and I go, okay, yep, right. I just need to get connected and really tell the story that I want to tell, the deepest, darkest secret that I have with this thing that I want to express, and it'll be good. But I'm used to that. I'm accustomed to that. I've had that training. I've been working on this for many, 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 many years. So it's easy, for us when we get to a certain competency to go, why are you having a hard time with this? This is not, you're just in my studio. It's just me. No one else is going to hear this. I've heard you sing 8,000 notes that you really didn't want to sing for me. And I'm still teaching you, and I'm still happy to teach you, and the way I look at those notes is not the way you look at those notes. Why are you still so worried? It's easy to fall into that trap. But it's not their fault. It is their responsibility to work on it and to improve upon it, but it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's instinctual. And it comes from a very, 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 very old place. I don't want to mess up in front of the group because if I do, I'm going to get eaten by a lion. That's a serious instinctual fear to overcome. So how do we overcome it? So that's the next part. And the last part of this video, this second video in the Telling the Truth series, in the teaching series within a series. How do we overcome that? So there's this misunderstanding in Bushido. Bushido is the way of the warrior. Bushi is a warrior and Do is the way of. And Bushido is the way of the samurai. It was the code of ethics and a way of life that they agreed to, and they dedicated their entire existence to. And the misunderstanding of it is that the samurai had this fascination or this obsession with death. There are a lot of writings of famous samurai, and there are even aspects of Bushido, the writings of Bushido, the book, I guess, or not really a manual, but that would suggest, oh man, these warriors were just, obsessed with death. They were not. They were actually obsessed with living their life to its absolute fullest because they accepted that death could be around the corner. It could be in a flash. It does not take long to cut somebody down with a sword. And when you were a samurai, you lived and died, most often died, by the sword. Very rarely did you make it to your old age and die of old age or some sickness. Usually it was because someone cut you down. And so it was a way for them to say, I'm going to do everything in my life, every action, every moment, I'm going to live to the fullest. I'm going to do it the best I can do it, so that if I die in the next 5 minutes, I will have no regrets. I will not look back on that activity that I was doing and go, I could have done that better. This could have been training with the sword. It could have been calligraphy. It could have been the tea ceremony. It could have been a conversation that they were having with somebody. It could have been just walking down the road. Every single aspect of their daily lives was spent focusing on doing it to the best of their ability in the most fulfilling way possible to truly celebrate their lives, so that if they died in the next moment, that they would have no regrets. And also, if they died in the next moment, nothing that they would have done previous to that would have been a burden to anybody else. That is an extreme way to live. But there's a really important secret in the way of living like a samurai for the singer. If every time we get up on stage, or every time we stand in the studio in front of our teacher, or even just every time that we're practicing on our own, if we consider this is the last time I'm going to get to do this, I might not ever get to sing again, or I definitely will never get to sing again. It's the last time I can express joy or love or even anger or sadness or frustration or fear or excitement, whatever it is, whatever the emotion is. And we have to say, I have to do this to the utmost best of my ability because I'll never get to do it again. All of that fear and worry and concern and anxiety over will the tribe still like me when I'm done, that goes away, because that expression of that level of emotion means so much more to us than the fear of failure. And why wouldn't it? And so I guess to kind of put a cherry on top of that, because this is getting into a different topic of, acting for singing, which I talked about a little bit, but we'll have another video on that later on in the teaching series. But there's a difference between acting like we're in love and being in love on stage, or acting like we're sad, or acting like we're overjoyed, or acting like we're furious, and actually experiencing those emotions. And the biggest difference is that we don't have to try. I don't have to act angry if I am. I will be angry, and it will be clear, and everyone will believe that I am. I don't have to act like I'm in love. If I am, there will be no question. Everyone will go, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, clearly in love with the soprano. So the baritones never really ever get to be. A couple of operas, most of them not. But then to do that means that I must have that serious, almost extreme outlook on, if this is the last time I stand on stage, this is the last time I get to express love or anger or joy or curiosity or whatever it is, well, I better embody that. I better have such a strong emotional connection to some memory or some idea or some thought that I totally embody that emotion, and then I am that, and then I express that. And then the fear, even if it's still there a little bit, turns into excitement. There's another energy there that takes over. And that feeling on stage is incredible. It's magic. It is the reason why I believe performing artists become performing artists. Definitely the biggest reason, in my opinion, why opera singers become opera singers. Because there's just very few other instances in life where we get to experience it like that. If we can get to that place. I could lose everything else and have that and feel very fulfilled. It's a meaningful pursuit, even if I fail. It's a meaningful pursuit. And that gives me the impetus to tell the truth. So, to recap, the nature of fear of singing in front of other people comes from not wanting to be less safe amongst the tribe. So we don't want to get eaten by a lion. We don't want to be a zebra that sticks out. And that's true for everybody that will come into our studio, as it is true for us every time we stand on stage. So to acknowledge that, and then to help our students understand that. And then as far as Aikido is concerned, and Bushido specifically, and there are more ways to deal with this, but this is one very powerful way to say, imagine this is the last time you will ever get to do this. Is that the best you can do? Would you be pleased with yourself at that level of connection and performance? Most of us would say no. But then it's, I want that. I want to get there. I want to be that successful at it. I want to feel that. I want to express that. Yeah, that is more important than the fear. And then we're free. And then the fear no longer has a hold on us. And I suppose that lends to one other very quick idea, is the nature of tension. It's a beast that we need to understand before it can be tamed. I think that it's totally natural to get in a situation where we sing and it's not what we want it to be. We're not successful, and so then we feel bad, and then we hold back, and that holding back is tension, and then we sing again, but we're holding back, and so we do worse, and then we sing again, we do worse, we sing again, we do worse, sing again. We keep feeling worse, we keep doing worse, and we keep getting more tense, and it's this positive feedback loop into utter failure. I have experienced this. This is probably my greatest hurdle to overcome. I know many of my friends and colleagues and students also struggle with this hurdle, this feedback loop. But within that feedback loop is the secret to the nature of tension, the beast of tension. The better we feel, the more we can let go of tension. The more we let go of tension, the better we sing. The better we sing, the better we feel, the more we let go of tension, and it's a productive, positive feedback loop. And so what that says to me is that tension does not feed on negative emotion. It holds on more, but what tension really wants, so that it'll leave us alone, so it's a beast that will be satiated and calm and relaxed, is positive emotion. The more positive we are, the more relaxed we are. So tension doesn't feed off of negative emotion. It feeds off of positive emotion, really, if you think about it. So this is the second video in getting our students to tell the truth. The next video, we're going to actually talk about some more practical applications and take a look at some music and some text, and start pulling it apart to really find what is a song really about. Because how can we tell the truth if we don't know what it is? So, stay tuned for the next video in the teaching series, in the truth-telling series, in the teaching series within a series. Thank you very much. Os!